Hey, hope you're doing well. Now, what if your next AI prompt could actually give you the exact trading tools to make money? Wait a minute, that sounds a bit far-fetched. Well, actually, what I'm going to show you today is that it is not. Nowadays, we have super powerful tools. We have AI like DeepSeek that are and many AIs, but DeepSeek is free, open source, and manages Python code very well. I've been doing some trials and I'm super impressed. So the point is, I want to show you how you can pretty easily and quickly build a fully functional crypto trading bot script in Python using DeepSeek. So the point is to show you a bit the steps I follow to do that. But obviously, the end game is for you to have a fully functional, simple script that you can build upon. So indeed, you don't go through all the technical steps that I'm going to show you today. But before getting into those technicals, there's two keystones I want to establish right now that involved in the process of creating a crypto trading bot. The first is establishing, if you want, what the brain will be. And that's typically the trading strategy the bot is going to automate. So just like this trading bot script will be establishing together in Python would act as a template for you to use AI, or if you know programming, just to build upon and implement your own rules, your own indicators, your own strategies, etc. I want to also give you a Pine Script code that you can apply the same process to do your own testing and add your own conditions, etc. Because backtesting is fundamental in creating a crypto trading bot. You need to know whether your strategy was worked well in the past, test it under several market conditions, maybe different coins, making sure there's no overfitting, all of that. This is fundamental. So Pine Script code will be here, and I will be using these conditions in the little strategy part that we will put in our crypto trading bot script. I mentioned two keystones. So what is the second one? The second one is, you could say, maybe the legs or the arms of the trading bot is where the exchange, where is this bot going to be trading on for us, etc. And this is always a difficult question because some exchange are available in this country, some in other countries, etc. In the North America, it's generally much more restrictive, so not many work. But I've decided to go with Bitunix, which I've been starting to work on because I'm preparing also a big trading bot that I'll be releasing on that. Be patient for that. Be patient. Anyways, so for this example today, we are going to be using Bitunix. It has notably a license in the US, in Canada, in the Philippines. So that makes it available pretty much all around the world. And the super cool thing, actually, there's two, is that you can trade futures on there, no problem. And you can do that whether you choose to do the KYC or not do KYC. So that's really up to you. Okay, I've thrown quite a lot of information at you. Let's recap. What is the extracted value of watching this video further? What will you get from it? First of all, a fully functional Python crypto trading bot code and a PyScript code to test those strategies. These being templates that you can use to build upon with AI or yourself if you know programming, etc. Second of all, where will the crypto trading bot code will be built to work on? A exchange that you can pretty much use from wherever around the world you are. Third, you will be seeing how I use AI tools to really use them efficiently to get things done in this context. Fourth, I will not go into the details of programming, but through this you will understand quite a lot of the steps and methodologies, etc. a trading bot code needs to follow to get to work. And that's quite important as well, I think. And finally, most important of all, you'll be spending some quality time with me, which obviously is the most important, right? Okay, jokes aside, and having the strategy in mind, what is the first step one would follow to build a crypto trading bot? It will start from some API documentation, and you'll see that's where AI and DeepSeek are going to be super helpful here. We won't have to go into any of that detail. It will do the job for us. So what is an API? It's short for Application Interface Programming. If I had to give you a metaphor, it's like a waiter or waitress at a restaurant. And so my code, my trading bot code is a client, is an app, and it wants to make requests to the exchange to get things done, place an order, fetch market data, fetch balance, etc. So the client asks the waiter, can I please get a plate of delicious grilled cheese? Well, in our case, can I place an order, for example, long on Bitcoin of that amount, except with a TP at that level, SL at that level, etc., etc. So what, with that request in hand, what does the waiter do? The API goes to the kitchen and places your order to the cooks, and the cooks cook your meal, build your plate, etc. So that's the server in the context of the exchange. The server places your order, interprets what you asked it, and the waiter comes back with your plate. In our context, is with a response to the order that you placed, saying, okay, your placement of BTC long, etc., was done successfully, or maybe something was wrong, you didn't have enough money or something like that, and you have an error response telling you funds not enough, whatever, couldn't place the order. So there you go. That's the game here. Okay, great. So you know what? Let's get DeepSeek to create the functions for us to deal with this API here. And actually, before starting with place order, in the logic of what a trading bot does, generally we get our account balance first. Why do we do that? Because your strategy parameter rules, no, beg your pardon, your strategy rules would also include some position sizing indications, etc., of rules to follow. Typically, you might want to only enter a position with every time 5% of your total available balance, or maybe 50, maybe 100, whatever. But anyways, to be able to compute that amount that comes out of this rule, you need to know how much cash, how much USDTs or whatever you have available on your account. And typically with Bitunix, it's using this endpoint here. So it's a request here called that they call get single account, described here. And you can see that in one of the return parameters, you have, where is it? You have available here. So the point is exactly, I don't want to have to deal with all of this code, the function that, like knows the parameter that you have to go here, the parameters that come out, etc. I want a simple function, get account balance, and that will work for me. Okay, so the point is, I'm just going to ask DeepSeek to do that for us, and let's see. So I'm just going to go copy brute force all of this and just go Control C. And I've also prepared a little prompt to help us get things going, and which, you know what, I'm just going to read it for you. So you see, I am providing my API interaction class API, beg your pardon, interaction class code down below. I'll paste it here. I've prepared a little thing I will explain in a second. Can you add a method to call the endpoint described in this documentation, please? Please. I know AI, please. I've seen too many movies. I'm not taking any chances. I'm going to be polite. Anyway, so that's exactly where I will paste what we just copied. But then what I do in the prompt is that I give a bit more context. More context generally, not too much, but more context means less chances of getting an error and having to meet the code, get into the code, etc. So there you go. I'm just going to explain. I want to retrieve my available account balance easily from this documentation. Make sure you correctly identify the request and response parameters and the endpoint URL and response format properly. Some API gibberish, but just to, in general, help us with this process of giving him the documentation and him coding the specific method that we want. Great. Please provide only the new method. No need to give me the entire class. Here's my code. Okay, so this is the documentation. And now let me just come here and copy this code, this beginning of code that I prepared, and I'll explain in a second. Come down here, pasting. And now I'm going to run this and I'm going to explain what is here, what I did here. And actually for that, I want to come here in signature. So all this is technical stuff, is how you sign a request. So typically, you know that when you connect a third-party software, a platform, an app, the trading bot code here to your crypto exchange, you create API keys that you give to this application. What these API keys are for is to make sure your app, when it's sending requests, like for us placing an order, getting here the account balance, etc., it creates a signature that when the exchange receives this order, it sees the signature as well and says, okay, that guy is authorized to place an order, so I'm going to accept. That way, anybody that doesn't have your API keys or whatever, also some random application, cannot just send to your exchange account, place orders for me or transfer money or whatever. No, if the signature is not right, the exchange will automatically block it. So that's important security. Now, the creation of the signature from the API keys is quite an intricate thing, how it works. There's encryption, there's timestamp encryption, etc. It's very interesting. If you ever want a dedicated video about this, you let me know in the comments. It's super nice. I'd be happy to do that. Let me know. Anyways, this methodology to create the signature, actually, you have an example here. The Bitunix documentation is quite well done. They already give an example. So based on this, what I did is that I created a beginning of my big Python API interaction class. The beginning is to know how to generate the signature. So very important here, something. Nowhere in the code, hard-coded, are my API keys. No, my API keys are in this separate JSON. So I've created them on Bitunix. And when I did that, I've put them in my credentials. I always do that with all my training bots, whatever. I put them in credentials here. And later, when we'll execute the code, I'll show you, but we will be giving to our Bitunix client here the API keys, whatever, in the execution. But in those methods, there's no API key. These API keys are just parameters. Great. So I did this a bit more professionally. He separated everything. As I said, I'm using this for also the big Python bot project I'm doing on Bitunix, and I will share at some point with you. But so that's what you have. That's why you see generate signature, get headers, handle response, get request, post request, all of that. Some technical stuff. I didn't want to get into this. The point is that I'm getting at, I'm hoping that by pasting this code directly into DeepSeek and then requesting, I would like to be able to do the get account balance from that endpoint. I'm hoping he's just going to create one little method that I add here. You will see that the signature process has been, the functions to do that, the methods are already here. So he will use them so that everything will work the way we want without me having to code anything. So you know what, I'm talking too much. Let's have a look at what he gave us. It gave us. Okay, let's see. So we have an example usage. Very good. Let's see what he gave us in terms of methods, whatever. We do have a single method, so that's great. So you know what, I'll actually just copy it right now and we'll paste it in here. I just need to give an indentation and we'll analyze it quickly before testing it. So he did, that's nice. He identified there was just one request parameter. Great, he identified the endpoint correctly, great. And now I'm very happy to see that self get request. So that's very good. So he identified that the type of request is a get request. For example, placing order would be what we call a post request anyway. Technical gibberish, but he did see that. And the point is that not only did he analyze that it was a get request, but he understood that my code had already the get request that you see here, handling that get request here. And that's notably in there. You see there's a get headers here, and in get headers, there's the generate signature that's here with all the stuff I mentioned earlier. I've also put a handle response nicely, etc. So anyway, so the cool thing, this is all technical, but he identified all of this and he is using directly. He didn't do many functions. This is just using everything that was already in the code. Great. And lastly, we asked him to specifically have an easy method to get our available balance, beg your pardon. So he identified that, and through all the parameters of the response, he's just giving us the available balance, which is what we asked for. Great. So that was the little running this to test. And as you can see in here, that's what I was mentioning. I'm loading the JSON, and from the JSON in API key, I'm storing that API key that's in there, so I don't show it to anybody, etc. It's all separated, as I mentioned, and secret key. I'm placing them in my client here, and then I need to use, he even, I think, as I said, he gave it very good usage example here. So I'm very lazy. I'm just not coding, not typing any code. And so there you go. You see client. So that was the client we define here. All of this, then fetch them, use the method get account balance. And as we said, we need to give the margin coin. And there we go. We print the response. Talking too much. Let's just run this and let's see what is going on. And now that I've built a bit of suspense, I'm going to take a few seconds to say two very important things. First of all, this video is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. Trading can be very risky, just like trading bots can be very risky because you can lose all your capital. This is just about me sharing my personal experiences, opinions, and my work, etc. And the second important thing is that if you ever want to try out Bitunix and you want to create an account, you have a registration link down below in the description. And if you do use that link, this is a huge support for this channel, for me sharing all these free tutorials, free open source trading bots, codes, courses, all of that. So it's a huge support. So I do want to say thank you very much if you do use that. Now, also note that this is just not a support for the channel. It's also a win for you because that link implies that you will, if you use it, you will get a 10% discount on all your trading fees when you're trading on Bitunix, which if you know about the power of compounding interest, those 10% in the long run can make a big difference. Anyways, let's get back to the bot. Okay, so let's go. Let's go. What are we going to get? Oh, nice. Request sent successfully. 100.47 USDT. That's what I had placed for the testing there today. So great. So it worked. Amazing. So at this point, we've achieved a big step. All of this is working, etc. To create a fully functional trading bot script, there's a few more steps to do and a few more functions to add about the API. So you've seen how I've used DeepSeek here to fetch the documentation, copy paste in my nice prompt, give the whole code so he knows what to add, etc. Anyway, so one could reproduce those steps to add all the functions of a bot, like fetch balance, place order. We mentioned place order, etc. The thing is, I don't want to make this video an hour or 2 hour long tutorial where I do all these steps, etc. So, and the sun is also shining brightly, so I think it's a good idea that I go refresh my brain, etc. for a bit. So what I'll do is I'm going to prepare all of this nicely, carefully, each functions in this client method, etc., and put them in there as well to create the fully functional trading bot code based on the strategy in Pine Script. And at that moment, I'll tell you what the rules were on that template strategy. So, you know what? Let me do all this and get back to you. See you. A few moments later, as they say. Super excited to show you all I did. Actually took some time to really professionalize all of this, separated I won't go through all the endpoint implementations that I did. I think it's better that we go straight to the training bot script. So at the same time as I explain what's in there, you'll see the calls to those endpoint functions, place order, get account balance, etc. But I just wanted to say this is a linear code, one after the other, because I wanted to give you this template to really be able to work on it. AI would understand very well. But in principle, what you would do is to separate probably in several files where the client class, the Bitunix class with all the endpoints would go in one separated file. Your trading bot rules, etc., would be in another file, etc. But for the purpose of creating a fully functional template and just to put just a couple of files in a project on GitHub for you to be able to download it easily, I will leave it like that. Haven't done that yet, but I'll definitely put a little README that explains how to install, for example, with a virtual environment, etc. If you feel like you want to do that, I'll prepare that, put everything in a GitHub repository, put the link down below. It's all for free, no problem. So anyways, so I did separate authorizations to clients and finally doing Bitunix futures, wherein there's really all the specific methods to all the endpoints we did. So, separating all that is to do, that everything that has to do with signature, etc., in a separate class, and all the actions, in that class. Little detail, I thought I should mention it. But anyway, so the point that I want to do is, I think what we'll do is just go through this very simple heading bot script. So you see how all this, kind of summarizes in a fully functional script. One thing, we'll talk about automation later. This is a script that you run it checks all the conditions depending on your conditions, enters a position, exits, etc. Then automation would be to, if your time frame is like 5 minutes, this is the script that you should run every 5 minutes. If your time frame is 1 day, it should be run once a day, etc. So we'll get to that a bit later. I'm just going to talk about what happens when you run this script, and we'll do the testing. I'll show you. I mean, I'm sure you're desperate to see how it looks when you place an order on the exchange, etc. So we'll do exactly that now. So first things first, what symbol, what pair do we want to trade? Well, here in the example is Ethereum, but you could change that to whatever you want. If you wanted to do BTC, I removed the thingy here, but you could do BTC, whatever. We'll do the testing on Ethereum. This is a futures trading bot code. So to work on futures, beg your pardon. So leverage isolate margin mode is something you might want to be changing and being very careful, obviously, about that. If you don't know about margin modes, etc., isolated is the safest, but you definitely should check what all these imply if you don't know about that. Then, as I mentioned, you position sizing here. I'm actually doing the exact same example as the same picking of the parameters as the Pine Script code here. We'll look into the conditions, etc. later, but I'm simply putting everything the same. So you really have a one-to-one correspondence between live and Pine Script code, etc. So TPSL percentages here, entry price 50, etc. I'll put a link to that Pine Script code down in the description as well, for sure. So what I was saying, same thing here, etc. We'll get to the conditions in a minute. So that was, we were backtesting, I believe, am I on a 4 hour? There you go. So I'm also putting the same time frame. Note that this is the time frame to download the data because we want to compute the RSI for this strategy. So we need to know what chart, what candles, what time frame we are computing the RSI on. So this 4 hour here is just telling the code, when you download your OHLCV data, so your candles, you download the 4 hour candles. Very good. So RSI period, standard definition period, and overbought region, overbought threshold, beg your pardon, 70. Now, lastly, verbose equal true is because I put a lot of nice prints, so we see how things go, etc. But you might ever want to remove that so you don't have too many prints. Just keep the errors prints. If you ever get errors, you'll have some prints, etc. But maybe you want to cut all the good printing, etc. Or maybe you want to keep it. That's up to you, but that's like kind of standard practice. So if you put that to true, you'll have all the prints, and if you put them to false, you would just have all the errors. If, for example, you don't have enough money to open a position, the API of Bitunix will give you a response telling you you don't have enough money, etc. So those would still be printed. Okay, great. So you remember the examples, but same thing. I'm initializing my client here. So this is now, I changed the name. Bitunix Futures is where there's all these endpoints. As I said, I put in another class all the authentication, etc. So that's why you see Bitunix Futures, but same thing, importing. So now that's my client, importing my API keys from credentials. Great, there you go. One thing, some of the endpoints cause, so margin coin at the moment on Bitunix is you only have USDTs in futures, so your base currency versus USDT. So I'm just putting it here directly in the, rather than a parameter that you can change easily, and I'm just putting it here because at the moment it's only USDT. Same thing, hedge mode. You have generally two hedging modes possible, or let's say you can do one way, which is generally, except if you're very experienced, you might do some hedging, but it means you can only open one position on a coin of one side. And that wasn't very clear. But basically, I can only, if I open a long on Ethereum USDT, I can only then either add on my long or maybe delete, close my position, but I cannot open a short. So you can't have two positions of the opposite sides at the same time on the same coin. If you put hedge mode to true, That means it becomes possible. It does make sense if you do more complicated bots or whatever, where maybe you have a strategy you have a trend strategy that is telling you it's on a larger time frame, whatever. At the moment, I'm completely long on Ethereum, but you have maybe a shorter time frame that trades little corrections or something like that, and that other strategy tells you, okay, let's do a quick short to get the correction, etc. So hedging and having opposite at the same time does make sense, but for this simple template, it doesn't. So I've put that to false. And also the get position method that I created with the endpoint is only works if you're in hedge mode false. If you want to change that, the way I've handled get position will get more complicated. So you would have to work on that if you do want. So there you go. That's set. So you can see actually I was showing, but first call to the client, to the endpoint, I need to get whether I have opened a position already, because typically other calls here, set position mode, so the hedge or true or false, set leverage, set margin mode. This can only happen if you don't have an open position. Otherwise, Bitunix the API will send you an error saying you can't change leverage, you can't change margin mode if a position is already open. So that's why I start by actually checking if there is an open position on Ethereum right here. Great. So, I don't want to go exactly in all the detail. I just want to show you quickly, but you can see I'm calling my balance here with the get account balance that we did together. We implemented computing my position size in USDT. So here it would be in USD, I write it, but it would mean in USDT. So doing the percentage conversion, some nice little prints. We'll see them working in a second. Then, I've tried to structure things like conceptually. So here that was kind of setting up the account. Now that we've done that, we can move on to the market data and compute in the indicator. So some nice prints. You see I have this client get K line. That means get market data, get OHLCV data. So this guy gets the data, puts it in a pandas data frame. That's a very cool library and objects to deal with data. So there you go. Fetching the last close price. One thing that I want to say at this point here, you see ILOC -2. That means I get my data frame of all the data. The last, I don't take as the close price, the last, so the most recent, but the one just before. Why do I do that? Because when you will be downloading the data, generally a bot, when you run it at the start of every new candle. So the last candle has closed, and you start, so maybe the time by is like 5 seconds after the last candle close. But since you do that, you will be getting the current candle, but you want to be basing your indicator calculation, your close price, etc., on the last close candle. So I'm not considering that last active candle in my computations. So that's why it's not -1 here, it's -2. So that's quite an important detail to know when you're dealing with trading bots. I mean, it depends on the strategy, what you're doing, but there you go. You have the explanation of why you have -2 here. Some nice prints, blah, blah, blah. Trading signals. So as you can see, I compute also my previous RSI because I should show you. I mean, actually, it's the time to show you quickly the Pine Script code. You can see entry long when I have a crossover of the RSI over the overbought region. So can we get to a place where we have some trades? There you go. The trades open when it crosses, and when that opens along, and when it goes back below, it closes the long. So that's why you have a crossover here and a cross under. So this TA library in TradingView does that like this with crossover. In my code, I'm doing it by hands if you want. So this translates here in first check getting the previous RSI. So not of the last close candle, but the one before. That's why here you have a -3. And then simply saying that this previous RSI needed to be below the overbought region, while the current one of the last close price needs to be above that overbought region. And same thing reversed if you want for the exit condition. So I've put it all commented trues and trues because at the moment the RSI is below the overbought region. So if I run the script, it wouldn't open the position, but we'll trick it by forcing it to be true. So we see the positions being open and close, etc. Some nice prints. Then we carry on order placement. You can see we have two exit order and entry order placement. And basically, if entry condition means this is a shortcut in Python to tell you if entry condition is true, do this. You can see it computes the TP price, the SL price, the quantity given the parameters that we had. So quantity is the amount, the size of the position, and simply places the order, keeping things very simple. As I said, for this template, it's a market order, etc. So very good. And with the TPSL given at the same time, for exit order, so what I did, there is a flash close endpoint where you don't have to use the place order, where you would have to give the precise amount that you want to close, put a reduce only parameter, things like that. Rather than doing that, I just use the flash close endpoint, because what happens here, you remember right at the beginning, we're checking whether a position is opened. Okay, I think I scrolled up too much. But you remember what I mentioned here. We check. So this will check, is there a position open on Ethereum? If there is a position, I'm going to be checking if it's time to close the position. There's no position open. I don't bother. When I say I really mean the bot. And if it's open, I will check if it's time to close. And if it's not open, I don't bother with that. And the thing is, with this flash close, you don't have to bother with all the specificities of the position. You just give to flash close the position ID, which I've stored in the objects, etc. So when I do fetch position, I put that in this little position object here. Very easy. And it closes. And if you have issues understanding objects like this is a data class, is to make it a bit more professional, reusable, clear, rather than just Python dictionaries. If you like Python dictionaries, you can put that. Again, these are all things AI handle very well. So if you need help with that or to change, etc., DeepSeek will help you. Any AI is no problem. Okay, so I think that's great. We got to the flash close position. I think it's time to actually run that bot, don't you think? Well, 1, 2, 3, let's go then. Let's see. So I'm running exactly the script. Let's see if what we get. It takes a bit of time to fetch the market data, etc. I'm going to just now make this a bit bigger, so I think it'll be easier to see. As I mentioned, I prepared the prints all around, so you do see something nice. Running the bot, giving you all the position modes, your account balance, fetching the market data is giving you the last close price, so you can, check. I've done all these checks, obviously, but if you ever code, modify, whatever, very important to always check. You can check, oh, I'm on BTC, we should be on Ethereum, so let's go. You can see I was doing some testing before, but so the last close price, where was that? This is on 15 minutes, so it's not going to give us the correct, but you see last close price, this was a green candle, 2192, something like that. Where do we, 2191.50, very good, so that's correct. The current RSI, a bit shy of 50, and we could check here where is our current RSI. You can see indeed a bit shy of 50. It's a bit hard to get exactly to the matching the thing, but so that means it's working well. And therefore at the moment the bot doesn't have to do anything. It's checking entry signal. Do we verify the entry signal? No. Do we verify the exit signal? No. I mean, we don't even have a position open, etc. So I just put a little trading session completed. See you next time. Just to errors were thrown, whatever. So that's the script ran properly. But so I would say what we should do now is like trick the bot into opening. So put it in the conditions where it would open a position. So rather than leaving entry condition testing our condition here, I'm just going to force it to be true. So we will see that what happens when it's time to open a position. We're faking it, but there we go. So let me run this and let me maybe make that bigger again. Great. So you can see something new happened here. We have same kind of thing. Entry signal was switched to OK. So it's entering the placing entry order, position size, 50 or 50 USDT 0.21. We'll see that the amount will be slightly different on Bitunix because of trading fees. We have the take profit 2301. We have the stop loss price 20, etc. We got the ID if we ever need it. So I would say we just come here, come check. We indeed have our position here that is here. And you can see we also, that's quite important, you can see we have our open orders here. What are these? Our TPSL. So you could also check the numbers here. They should match exactly what's over there. So you see, this is great. I think we could just now do the opposite and mimic, oh, it's time to close the position. So I'm going to trick the bot again to do exit equal true. I'll remove all of this on the version I'll put on GitHub, but just for the sake of testing all of this, let's do it. Let's run, and there we go. Let's see, fetching market data, checking for position to exit, found a position. That's the order ID, the position ID, beg your pardon. Current PNL, throwing the PNL of the thing. Why is the PNL negative here? Because I just opened it and then closed it. I paid some trading fees, etc. So like virtually this position didn't do anything except given some fees through the exchange. But I thought it was nice to have this little print. And you have status, position closed successfully, trading session finished, whatever. Let's get back to here. We could see actually the refreshing of the display took a bit of time. But anyways, you can see that the position has indeed been closed. So pretty cool, right? Now, before we talk about automation, a few word of caution or things I want to share with you. So as you can see, there's definitely several layers of how tiers, or I don't know how you would call it, of complication and of what you want to do with a bot. Here, this is linear. You just control one symbol at a time. But you could totally just copy paste the script for several symbols, each with their own parameters, etc. Have your automation part that just runs all of them. That could be a simplified, but still, I mean, the point is to get something working properly. So that could be it. But you could then build a much bigger structure, etc. I do that for some clients. You automate, make the code asynchronous so that you just throw a lot of orders, etc. at the same time on to do multi-time frame, to do multi-coin, etc. But you don't necessarily to go that way. This could be already enough. And I think I hope this is a very good template for you to work on. The other thing that I want to tell you is, do I think this is a template strategy? I wanted to really match things one-to-one so you can start with some solid templates, etc. Do I think that, so you can see nice green curve, etc. Do I think this strategy is good enough? No, I don't think it's good enough. A strategy needs generally a lot of work. This is a simplified example. I thought about a metaphor how I could describe a trading bot, but it's a bit like a sharp knife. So these days, thanks to AI and all these assistants that you get, it's very easy to sharpen the knife. But then a sharp knife can give you, like, you can prepare some delicious meals with a sharp knife. This guy's always talking about cooking metaphors. Yeah, I love cooking food. I love food, whatever. You can, as much with a sharp knife, create some delicious meals, as much as you can chop your whole finger off. So be aware of this. You need to be in control of everything. So backtesting, trying different testing strategies on different coins. Is it robust? Different market conditions. What happens when? Be careful overfitting. All these things that are related to strategy building, which I'm not covering in this video. You have to be aware of that. Great. The first thing I want to mention about automation is a little warning or caveat or whatever. I personally never run a trading bot on my own computer or on some Raspberry personal server at home or whatever. No, I use online VPS because I don't want to have any issues if there's a power cut at home or a problem with internet, etc. As you see, this bot checks data and checks market data or HLCV, makes a decision, enter or exit a position. I do not want to it has a TP and a SL embedded in there. So when you're placing the order, you already have your exit. That's really cool. I did forget to mention, I realize right now, but I did want to make this template general. So there is a TP, there is an SL, and there's also a full market exit condition. So maybe you have some strategies where because you have TP and SL, you don't need an exit, like a technical indicator exit. With us, it was the opposite crossing. But I thought I would put everything in the same code. It might make sense, it might not, but at least you have all the components to create a general bot, etc. Anyways, what I was saying was I put all of this on a VPS, and actually to make my life easier, I create this is the GitHub of the channel. That's where you'll find this project. I'll put the link. But you could do this kind of thing yourself. Have your own GitHub. So you go on your VPS, you connect, etc., and you set everything up by cloning your live bot strategy, whatever. The point is, I cover this in detail in this video. I always get it wrong, that video. So you can check that out to get an idea of how all of this works. Don't forget the registration link. It supports on Bitunix, supports the channel a lot. And it's also a win for you for your discounts on your trading fees. And you know what? See you soon. Take care and happy trading.